Hi there, my name is Deborah Dietrich, co-owner and director of education from Youth Beauty. Welcome to the Collective Pro series. We bring these conversations to you for inspiration. You will hear from iconic pro artists in film, television, theater, production, product development, and visionary students. We hope that by listening to some of these interviews that you'll have more clarity with the many different genres that you have to choose from once you graduate. So let's get started. Today, I'm really excited to welcome Joe Dulude II. Thank you for taking time to be with us today. And I know that you're getting ready to go off on a trip for a month. So I'm so excited for you to help give inspiration to our future professionals in the industry. Thanks for being here, Joe.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Okay, so I would love to just do a few highlights about your accolades, but honestly, before we get started with the questions, I'm going to read this. I hope you don't mind because it's too long and it's too amazing. So, Joe Dulude II, probably best known for his Broadway and West End makeup designs on such productions as Wicked, Death Becomes Her, K-pop, Beetlejuice, MJ the Musical, SpongeBob SquarePants the Musical, Torch Song, Sunday in the Park with George, Sweet Charity, Holiday Inn, Allegiance, and many, many more. Joe's also a makeup artist for film and television, designing Annie Live and Jesus Christ Superstar Live, for which he received an Emmy nomination. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
His work on film and television includes Absolution, The Holdovers, which was a great movie, Julia, great, Gilded Age, great, Hocus Pocus 2, love it, Don't Look Up, About Fate, Ghostbusters, and many more. Phew, that is amazing. He teaches and presents worldwide for the Powder Group and the Makeup Show and Local 798, which is East Coast or right hand of the country, as well as teaching his unique and creative classes in Paulo,
Sao Paulo, yep.
London, and throughout the US. During the pandemic, as most of us have, he began offering his classes through Zoom and continues to do so. He has won an Etsy Design Award and a local 706 Hair and Makeup Guild Award for his work. Throughout his career, Joe's work has enhanced the faces of many well-known actors and performers for television, theater, and personal appearances. So, having said that, you reside in New York, correct?
No, I am actually in Rhode Island. It's where I grew up.
Rhode Island. And
Yes.
where in Rhode Island?
Just outside of Providence. So I moved back almost 3 years ago. It's like close to like 2 3/4 years ago. So I could be closer to family.
And in this crazy business that we're in, as you know, with productions and the long hours, etc., that says a lot because family's everything, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so Joe, let's get started. How would you describe your makeup genre?
Primarily, I design makeup for theater, for Broadway, for musicals, for plays. I do live theatrical musicals as well. Uh, my genre, I guess, would be considered that, although I also work in film and television and I teach, and I've done fashion and editorial. Like that was my background, was doing fashion and editorial. Um, and then fell into theater and then started doing film and television. So I think if I were to specifically say what I do, I am an artist. I am a creative artist.
I
And
love that.
yeah.
Um, so this is not on your questions, but this brings me to the second point. I think it's interesting and really admirable that you went from fashion editorial to film, television, theater, because it's very different, a
Mhm.
whole different genre. And a lot of people that seem to do on work on that fast-paced fashion editorial style of lifestyle, sometimes it's hard for them to move into that other aspect, which sometimes can be like watching paint dry sometimes, right? I mean,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes.
Um, so what do you love most about your career, Joe?
The thing I love most about my career is that I've been able to create it myself. Um, I took jobs that made no money because I wanted the experience, because I knew that it was going to be a really exciting opportunity, an exciting job. I was going to be able to be creative. And then I've turned down jobs where I could make money because it just didn't seem the right fit for me. And for my life, it's that thought and putting that intention into it, into my career, has really kind of guided me through. And that's how I've started doing everything. I mean, it wasn't like I trained to be a Broadway makeup designer. I kind of was in the right place at the right time and fell into it. But I had a theater background because I performed in, when I was a kid and in high school and in college. So I knew theater, I knew how it worked. So I could bring that experience to it. Had never done Broadway, but and with film and TV, I kind of the same thing. I had moved from New York to Western Massachusetts, and I was on the union list, and I started getting calls because there's a lot of film and TV that happens in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and sort of went into that and kind of learned as I went along. So none of this, like I was never planning to be a makeup artist when I was younger. I went to school for graphic design.
Oh, that's great. And in these interviews that we do, we often hear that it isn't like being in the right place at the right time. It's just that you have that passion inside you for, you know, being an artist and
Yeah.
graphic artist, and then all of the different genres, all the different jobs that you've taken, just sort of it does kind of put you in the right place at the right time.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and our calling is to decide if we take it and we hear it, and I think
Yeah.
that really wise for students or for people new in the industry to hear is you have to listen to that internal little voice that says, I got to do this.
Yes, I always trusted my gut instinct, and I
Um,
knew that if, I mean, obviously there were some jobs that I took for money because I needed the money,
right.
but overall, like I've just been very lucky that I have that sense where I know if this is a good fit or not.
I think that's really great. Yeah. So who's been the most influential mentor in your life? And this doesn't have to be, a makeup artist or a hair person. It can be, who was inspirational for you?
I mean, a lot of artists are like Salvador Dali is one of the most inspirational for me because that man was a true artist. Like he was a kook, and but he did what he wanted, he created what he wanted, he created this life, this lifestyle, this art that he saw in his head. So he's always been one that I kind of go back to. um Watching some of his short films and things, you're like, wow, what was going on in his head? um that kind of has always been an inspiration for me. I starting makeup, I didn't really have any mentors. And that wasn't something that happened at that time. And even though I was in fashion and editorial, I didn't go deep into it. So I was working for MAC Cosmetics. Um, and so I wasn't like going, that wasn't my entire life. I was a manager at MAC. I managed MAC Pro for a year in New York. But as my career went on, I think one of the people that inspires me the most and that I've learned so much from is James Vincent, who is also my best friend. We went to college together. So we've known each other since 1991, I believe. We actually live in the same building now here in Rhode Island. And he moved back, and then a year later I moved back. But you know, he's always inspired me with his career and the way that he has developed his career and the person that he's become. Um, but even still, like I still learn things from him all the time. Like I'll be on a job and I'll be like, I need this. Like, what is good? What can work? And he'll know everything and, helps me out. So, he's been a really great inspiration for me.
And isn't it great that can just run upstairs or run downstairs and knock on the door, right? For the most
Yep.
part. And he's your best
Yep.
friend. And I
Yeah.
think
He's
like,
right around the corner.
yeah, and well, you be sure and tell him hi after you do this. I'm sure you'll say hi,
I
see him
will.
before
I
you.
will.
Yeah. Yeah, I love him. I think he's a sweet, sweet man.
Yeah.
What qualities do you value most in a makeup artist? Just in general for you.
Uh, First of all, being kind, being a nice person. Um, that's another reason I think I've gotten so far in my career too, was that I was not dramatic. I was very calm. And these are all aspects that I look for when I'm like, if I need to hire someone, if I need an associate, for production. When I'm putting a team together, like we're here to do a job and let's have fun and enjoy this job. I'm not always looking for the most talented person. Talent does help, of course, but if you have a horrible personality and you create a lot of drama and, you know, you're freaking out on a set or, backstage, like that's not the person that I need to work with. And I think that we're finding that a lot more now, where that's a lot of people are, you know, there's so much going on outside that inside we need to like kind of be a family and not have that drama. So I think that's the most important for me is the kindness, the calmness, the dedication to the work.
Okay. Well, then that kind of already answers the next question, which is as a head of department or, doing a production, what do you look for in extra hire? But the one thing that I want to address and say, I think a lot of people find that, and this maybe is this generation, that it is harder and harder to find people that have that what you are looking for. If you're a new person in industry and you have a little bit of that, um, what's your advice for someone that's listening to this that says, "Oh my gosh, I want to be Joe. I want to be Joe, but I have a little bit of drama. I know we're not talking about psychology here, but any
Right.
thoughts?"
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to, it's really about self-care and, finding those things that you can do, whether it's meditation, whether it's massages, whatever it is, whether it's manicures, pedicures, those things, I never let things get to me. I rarely get stressed. And it was a practice. It wasn't something that I started and was like, oh yeah, I have no stress at all. But it was something that I practiced in myself and every day. And when I found myself getting stressed or getting anxious, I just took a moment to calm myself down, taking deep breaths, just taking a quiet moment, stepping away for one moment. Nobody's going to die if you step away from something for a moment. And I always say that, like when I department head or when I'm designing or anything like that, I always tell the artists, I'm like, look, no one's going to die from this. If you make a mistake, it's fine. Like, fix your mistake and move on. It's
Mhm,
not a big deal, but also because that's how I am, I think that reflects onto the people that I work with.
mhm,
So then they feel that calmness, they feel that, like many actors have told me that, like me coming into their room to do their makeup, like they they like it because they know when they come in, my energy is calm.
mhm,
Even if they're having a bad day, I'm not going to stress them out with my bad day if I'm having a bad day. So, it's a practice. It's everything, like meditation, yoga, all of that stuff is a practice. You don't do it. Working out, like, you have to keep doing it and you have to keep working on it.
mhm. Yeah, even though, so I love everything that you said, and I think that's really important. And I think that you're right. That is a learned thing, and I think it's a constant thing because we love what we do, finding that balance, but work play balance is really important. And I assume that in your personal life, you probably are that same person, calm, a good friend, all of those things, all of those characteristics that you just mentioned. So thank you for that. So when you design a show, how much time do you have on average? And I know it depends on the production and it can go on and on and on and on and on, but I think that's a curious notion that maybe some people might be interested in.
I have had anywhere from 6 months to a month,
Yep.
and sometimes less than a month.
Hmm.
I've gotten hired last minute. The production that I'm doing at the end of February, I just got hired, and it was as a replacement. They had someone, and that person had too many conflicts with the tech schedule. So the costume designer reached out to me and said, "Can you do this?" So, and now I'm leaving for 3 weeks to go set up a show in Australia, and I come back and then I have to go right into tech for this new show. So I'm going to sort of be doing double duty while I'm in Australia, like working on this, working to set up MJ the musical, which is what's happening in Australia, but then also starting designing Smash, which is the new production. And then at the same time, right after that, Beetlejuice Australia is opening. I'm not going down for that, but I'm going to have to deal with all of that. And I have to go check on some other shows. So it's like a constant thing where you're like trying to like figure out a balance between all of these things.
Mhm. And that calm spirit is what really helps you. I heard of something really cool the other day. I'll just share this with you. It's taking someone said, well, it's old school. It's not high-tech savvy, but they take three sticky notes before they go to bed. They write three things down that they want to do first thing in the morning,
Hmm.
and they don't do anything else until they've accomplished those three things. It could be get
Hmm.
a drink of water, it could be meditate, it could be,
Yeah.
go for a walk or run. I just think that that is really, really important, given those times that your schedule sounds absolutely insane right now.
Yeah. And I think what the thing is that you have to make a commitment to it like everything else.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
I am a meditator, but for a year, I didn't meditate at all. I just wasn't in the headspace for it. And then my mom passed away last year in August, and it really changed a lot of things in me. And I realized I needed to go back to that, and I needed that.
Mhm.
Um, and it started like calming me down. Like I don't do it first thing in the morning. I wait until I take my shower. After I take my shower, I get dressed, I sit down, I do this meditation. I've started doing breath work now, which has been really, really good. Uh, and so easy. Like I can do it at any point. And I find myself now throughout the day sometimes when I'm feeling a little overwhelmed or whatever the case may be, like I do that breath work exercise, even if it's just a few breaths, and it really just sort of calms me down.
Oh, that's so great. And my condolences for your mom.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
yeah. It does, they say when you lose a parent that it just really does change your trajectory on life and everything else. So,
Yeah, it did. It really did. And it made me realize what the important things were and the things that I wanted to do and the things that I didn't really want to do, which was it's a good thing, but it's also a scary thing.
yeah.
So,
Do you prefer designing or working full time on a show? And I'm talking about because I'm local 706.
mhm.
So do you like just there are people that are meant to be department heads, there are people that are meant to be designers, and there are people that are meant to be first, second, third hires. So,
Mhm.
and there are people that also meant to work on a show full time versus designing. What do you prefer? Do you like doing both, or what's best for you?
At this point in my life, I've been doing makeup for almost 25 years. Um, and I've been designing for Broadway for no, over 25 years. Yeah, over 25 years. And I've been designing for Broadway for what year are we in? 22,
We're in
20,
we're in 25 right
2003. So
now.
22 years. So 22 years I've been designing for Broadway.
Mhm,
Um, and I'm at the point of my life now where like I don't feel the need to do makeup anymore. I
mhm,
love designing. I love creating. I love creating worlds. I love creating characters. And if I can do that, until I retire, I would be very happy, just to do that. I don't need to be doing makeup. I don't need to be a department head. In my experience with film and TV, there was a point where I was vying to, try to be a department head and get these credits. And then I realized, oh, I don't really want to do that. Like, with my design work, I'm in charge. I tell people what to do. I usually have an associate. Sometimes there's a makeup artist on the show. So like I'm in charge of that. But I realized I don't want to be in charge anymore. I've been in charge my entire life, and it's time, like,
Mhm,
I like to step back a little bit. And
mhm,
also as I've gotten older, I have tremors in my hands, so it makes it more difficult to do makeup.
mhm.
And so some days are good and some days are not so good. Um, and so for me, I'm like, I've done. I mean, I still love being creative, and if I could do a creative makeup, like when I just do my design work, I always do the makeup on the actors and show them what it is, and
Mhm.
that I'm cool with. But as far as like continuing on, I'm trying to, step back a little bit from that.
I think that's great. I have a good friend that won a Academy Award for hair a show, and it was interesting because she had been department heading for years. And after that, she realized, you know what? No, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that
Hmm.
award. And I don't really need and want that pressure in my life anymore. So
Yeah.
I love, I love when we know when to hold them and when to fold them. I think that's great.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. And I loved doing film and TV, and I would still do it if the opportunity came up or if I got asked to do something and it worked into my schedule. But honestly, as I'm getting older as well, like that lifestyle does not work for me. I have a lot of food allergies, and so I have a lot of digestive issues. And waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and
Yeah.
going into work and working 12, 14, 16-hour days, out in the cold, out in the rain, out in the heat. Like it's just not where I want my life to be. Um, I did enjoy what I did, and I could still do it, but I had to, that was a realization that I had to make with myself, where it's like, yeah, this is great and the money is fantastic, but is this what I really want? Is this benefiting my life? And is this putting me in the place where I want to go? I'm 53 years old, so I still have lots of life left. And I want to utilize this time and be happy. And especially when you do experience the death of a parent, it's like you realize, okay, this is it. Like I need to enjoy this life now. I worked really hard to get here, and I should be able to reap some of the rewards while I still can.
Mhm. But isn't that why we work so hard in this industry, or maybe any
Yeah,
industry, but we're so passionate about it that sometimes we forget how hard we work. But
yeah,
once and I would think you probably say the same thing. People say, "Oh, you've arrived." I'm like, I don't feel like I've arrived. What I feel like is I have done enough to be able to make choices for myself, and that's
yeah.
really what it comes down to. I do want to say this sweet film, as you were talking about it, I was thinking um holdovers, and you were talking about movies and not one, and I was thinking about the snow, working on that movie. I think you probably
Mhm.
worked with a really good friend of mine, Michael White, hair.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, he's a good
yeah,
dear friend of mine. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so best day you've ever had in your career. And I know that sounds super
Ooh.
cheesy, but ooh, I know.
Uh, I think the best day I ever had was when I got nominated for the Emmy for Jesus Christ Superstar. That whole production. So at that point, I had decided to get out of makeup, and I had taken a job working for a study abroad company that specialized in the performing arts. And I had been working at it for, I think, almost 3 months, and I was miserable. I am not designed to sit behind a computer at a desk all day long. I was getting styes on my eyes. My back was killing me. I was exhausted. I was miserable. And I realized this wasn't for me, and I was going to give my notice, but then I was like, well, I told everybody I wasn't doing makeup anymore, so now I have to tell everybody that I am doing makeup, and how's that going to look? And uh, coincidentally, my friend Charles Lapointe, Chuck Lapointe, we've known each other for 22 years. We did Wicked together way back when, and we do a lot of shows together. And he randomly texted me and said, "How are you doing?" And I was like, and I kind of explained the situation. He was like, "Oh, well, you should text Paul Taswell because he's doing the Donna Summer musical and see if you can get on the Donna Summer musical." And I was like, "Oh, cool." And Paul and I had worked together once before. And so I called him up. Well, I actually texted him and I said, "I heard you doing summer. I'd love to do it." He said, "Oh, great." He's like, "Yeah, but there's also something else I wanted to ask you about." So I got on the phone with him and he was like, "So I'm designing Jesus Christ Superstar live for NBC. Do you want to design it?" And I was like, "Yes." Didn't even wait a moment. And ended up giving my notice at my job. And my boss was like huge musical theater person, so he totally was excited about it and understood. And the whole production was fantastic. It was a production where you knew from the top all the way down that everybody wanted to put on the best production. It was a joy to work on. I loved it. I loved my work, my tattoos that I created. And I was in Austria for the World Body Painting Festival. I was a judge and teaching a class. And that's when the nominations came out. And so I was like sitting there in their little VIP whatever place, because it was the only place you could get internet. And and I just kept like refreshing, 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 refreshing. And then it finally came up, and I think I screamed and then ran and told my friends. And then I started getting all these texts, and it was really an amazing experience. And,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
thank you for, I mean, I had goosebumps listening to that. And you know, the accolade is you got the nomination, but you also were living your true passion,
yeah,
and you also had surrounded yourself, or what the universe provided came together, which was a whole bunch of other people that felt that same passion that you did. So I think that's really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And it's really great because in going to the Emmys too was incredible. Like growing up like a little gay boy in Rhode Island and seeing these things on TV, and all of a sudden, like I had hired a PR person because that's kind
Yeah,
of what you have to do.
right.
And so she was taking me and my friend on the red carpet, and we walked, and I stopped, and then she was like, "Are you okay?" It was so hot that day. It was like ridiculously hot. She's like, "Are you okay? Do you need water? Everything okay?" And I was like, "Oh no, I'm fine." I said, "I just need to take a moment because I've seen this on TV my entire life, and now here I am experiencing it and doing it. So it was a really overall that whole entire experience, all the
Well,
way
you're
up through the award ceremony, even though I didn't win. But yeah, it's such a great experience.
well, and I think the wisest thing that you said was you stopped to be in the moment, and I think that's so important. Yeah, so
Yeah.
important. Thank you for sharing that. I actually went and saw, when I was just graduated from high school, I went and saw the original Jesus Christ Superstar production in
Ooh.
London. I know it was, yeah, and those songs still, you can't
Yeah.
you can't unhear them, can you?
No, I
Yeah.
mean, I love, there's only a few handful of musicals that I really love, and that is one of them.
Mm.
It's funny that this is my career, and I'm like, I mean, I like some musicals, but not all of them.
And that's the one you love.
Yeah.
Do you ever get creative block? And I ask so many really talented friends of mine, do you get creative block? And when you do you have any advice? Or what do you do? And everyone does something different, and could be, I don't know.
Yeah, I've had creative block many times. Sometimes it's waiting it out, like if you don't have a really quick turnover or deadline, it's waiting it out and allowing it to come to you. so I do drag, and I've created this drag character, and I do these shows in Western Mass. It's become a family tradition, like our holiday show, and I write the holiday shows, and there's a cast of people, and and I've had moments like last year. I had this moment where I couldn't think of what to write, and I couldn't think of the story, and it just wouldn't come, and I was getting so frustrated, and everybody's like, it'll come, and I was like, I don't know, I don't have anything. And then I just kind of let it go. And one day I woke up on a Sunday, had nothing to do. I started writing, and I wrote the entire day and came up with the first draft of the script. Um, so sometimes it's like waiting it out till the right time and the right headspace. But if I need to like inspire myself, museums work really well for me. Just to go into a museum and to see the art there and to like look at the color and the shape. Um, and especially like for me, visual art, which is like projection, light, video,
Mhm.
those kind of things really, really open up my mind. When I lived in Western Mass, I used to go to Mass MoCA all the time, which is the Museum of Contemporary Art out there. And Laurie Anderson has this VR installation, and it's basically simple. It's like blocks, and you're like in space sort of, and there's all these blocks, and there's different rooms inside of it, and then you go into a room, and then you hear her music or her voice or something like that. But like you can control it, and you can fly. And so it was just this like I would go there a lot and just go into the exhibit and then just like go through it and just fly. I knew what all the rooms were, so I didn't need to explore it anymore, but just the sense of flight for me would kind of like release me. But yeah, just going through, looking at art, nature also really helps too, like going out into nature. Um, yeah, those are the things that I think I do the most of. Or sometimes mindless stuff, playing video games, like taking my mind off of what I need to think about and just doing something that it's not mindless because you're thinking, but it to me it's like mindless. It's
Yeah.
entertainment. Yeah.
Well, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And you did talk a little bit about Mr. Dragon. I didn't say any of that, talk anything about that production, and what you do with that. And when I did your bio introduction, so is there anything else you want to say about that? Because you sit on the board there too, right?
Yes, I'm on the board of Tooth Productions. So I fell in with them. I moved to Western Mass probably about 11 years ago or so now from New York. My best friend, one of my best friends, lived up there with her family. And I kind of fell into this production group, and we started doing immersive shows. And I, there was a variety show, and I said I would like to sing at it, which I had never really sung in public except for karaoke. Uh, I said I'd like to sing Rainbow Connection in drag and project photos of diverse families behind me. And uh, the producer, who is my good friend Linda, who's the artistic director of Egg Tooth Productions, was like, great. And I did it. And each night I did a different outfit. And there was something about it that it was scary, but it also was very freeing for me. So the
Mhm.
following year, I said, I would like to host the show.
Wow.
So, and I said, I don't want to perform in it. I just want to host and in drag. And she was like, great. And then she's like, oh, this person, Kat, also wants to host. So why don't you two get together? So we came up with a duo, Mr. Drag and Carl. And Mr. Drag's a big drunk, you know, and talks a lot and sings. And Carl doesn't talk, um, and is really bumbling and awkward, but like a beautiful dancer. So like awkward and dropping things in real life, but then like cuts with these like beautiful dance moves.
Mhm.
And Kat's a trained dancer, so and that started that, and then we were like, I think we have something here. And so we started doing these short, like 1 hour shows called Morning Vodka. And And it was like a talk show kind of format where, I would be sitting up there, I'd be telling stories, then I would sing songs, Carl would do these dances, do all kinds of stuff. We would like have the audience participation. And so we started doing these bigger shows, which involved a lot of people. And then I had cast someone as my much, 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 much older sister, and another woman as my younger, pretty, less talented sister, who in real life is the most talented out of all of us. And someone said, I would love to see a drag sister show. So then I started writing drag sister shows and doing the holiday shows and writing them all. And drag for me opened up something in me and also released something. It released this fear that I had of myself, of who I was, how I held myself, how I
Mhm.
talked, how I sat, and the way I talked about myself. And it just kind of broke down this barrier that I had had, and it made it so freeing for me. And I love doing it. As I'm getting older, it's harder and harder. Being being all corseted and in heels, but I find so much joy in it because it brings people joy. And that's what I love about
That's, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, love what we do, right?
it. Yep. Yeah. And I don't
Um,
get paid for that. So, this is a thing that I do because it brings me joy. And that's a thing like thinking about what we were talking about earlier, like how do you take care of yourself? How do you do that? Like this is a way that like this feeds my soul to do it. So that's why I do it. And I don't do it for the money. I do
mhm,
it for me
mhm.
and for
Yeah,
entertain people.
which in turn brings a lot of joy to other people.
Yeah.
So, first of all, you are just delightful. You're just delightful. I'm
Thank
having the
you.
best time with this interview. Thank you. Last question, if you do even want to mention about it, I know you say you've stepped down, but the Proud of
Mhm.
Her Mentor program, can you just give like a couple sentences on
Sure.
what that's about?
Sure, sure. So it's a local 798, which is the East Coast Union for hair and makeup artists. And I was asked to be the chair of the mentorship committee. It started out where we were doing an outreach program with 798 and this company called Real Works. And people would apply, people who were not union would apply, who were, makeup artists or hairstylists, depending on which program we were doing. And they would apply, either they wanted to get into the industry but didn't know how, or had worked a long time and couldn't figure out how to get their foot in the door, or they were just starting out and they wanted to get into this. And so we would interview them, we would choose 12 people to be in the program. They would be taught for 12 weeks
Mhm.
by union members on different topics.
Wow,
And then at the end of it, they would graduate, and then we would set them up with a 798 mentor for 6 months. And so
that's
yeah, so it'd be like continuing their education. So it wasn't a job placement program. It wasn't like, oh, you're guaranteed to go on set with this person or you're guaranteed to go backstage with this person. It was like, okay, what are your goals? What's the next step that you want to do? Let me help you get there.
Mhm.
Uh, and that was being done so that we could create our own mentorship program with 798, which is what we were in the process of now, and so that newer members can be teamed up with seasoned members of the union so that they can kind of like get a little mentorship and get an understanding of what it's like to be on set. What are the protocols? What is this? What is that? Or if they want to do union stuff, like, how to negotiate that kind of stuff. So it would strengthen the union. But with my schedule and some personal issues, I had to take a step down because it was taking up a lot of my time and I knew I wouldn't be able to put 100% into it. So but I
That's
still
great.
think it's a great program. So,
Yeah, thank you so much for tapping into that quickly. So my last question would be, what advice would you give a upcoming artist who wants a career like yours? But I just want to say that I'm going to recap it and then you and add to it. You know, you have to be kind to yourself. You have to breathe. You have to pay attention. You surround yourself with people that love and support you.
mhm.
You have to be yourself and you got to do the work.
Yeah. And I
Nothing.
think that's a thing too that I think in the world that we live in now, with reality TV, people look at that and it's like, or with social media, people look at that and they're like, well, it's so easy to become a celebrity. It's so easy to make money. It's so easy to do this. It's so easy to do that. Um, but those are few and far between where something like that hits and you can have that kind of life. But even with social media, like you have to work really hard to get yourself out there and to get on people's algorithms and to do that. So it is a job, and I think people forget that because they think that it's just easy and you're just going to like go and people are going to be like, yes, we want you, like, come. But it is a lot of work and it's a lot of hard work, and you know sometimes you are working for nothing and doing a lot, and sometimes you're doing nothing and getting paid. So but it's hard physically and it's also hard mentally, and I think that's something that people aren't always prepared for coming into this. And it's not an easy life, and it's not an easy life to get into, and it's not an easy life to maintain.
Mhm. But it is a great life and it is your life. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is that when you work hard for it, like, then the rewards are
Mhm.
great. And, I now have a life that I love. And it's because I set my rules, set my boundaries, set my intentions.
Mhm.
And, you know, this is how I'm living now. But I mean, I've gone through it, even is probably maybe, I would say, like 6 or 7 years ago, pre-pandemic, so probably a few years before the pandemic, I went out to eat with my friends and went to go pay, and there was not a dollar in my bank account.
Mhm.
And I had no clue. Something had gone through and I had no money and I hadn't been working. So, even though I've been doing this for so long, up until recently, like, and I would really say, like, post-pandemic, like, I was up and down.
Mhm.
I would have money and then all of a sudden I would have no money.
Mhm.
And that's the nature of our industry as well. And you have to be able to like move through that and figure out, and people are having a harder time because there's so much with our strikes
Mhm.
and with the pandemic and all this other stuff going on, that you don't you have to figure out how to build yourself a protective shield so
Yep.
that you can get through it, and then figure out, okay, there's no work right now. So
Mhm.
what am I gonna do? How can I survive?
Mhm.
And then there's no shame in like going and working at a coffee shop or in a store for a little bit of time because you need the money.
Mhm.
It's what you do. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's you're surviving, and you have to have that gentleness and that grace with yourself during
Mhm.
those periods.
Yeah, I think that to kind of wrap this all up, I think what it comes down to is personally and professionally calling on your resources that you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those resources come from your experiences, good, bad, and ugly. So,
Yeah.
hey, Joe, I just want to thank you so much for today.
You're
It's been just
You're
delightful.
welcome.
You
You're
are,
welcome.
you elude calmness and kindness and self-care. So you're walking the talk. And I think that any, I'm not even going to say student, it could be a student of the beauty industry, wouldn't have to be a student in school, is going to be delighted to be able to hear you in all the greatness and all the many things and all the shiny lights that people hear, see, and feel, and
Hmm.
what they make up in their head, what they think your life is about. I think this is going to be delightful for them to, you know, pull back the curtain and say, "Oh, wow, he's really cool."
Wow, thanks. I appreciate that.